Now I've got my beauty pass in the background, I've got my dome isolated, and I've got my windows isolated. I want to put a bunch of effects on, on the dome and on the windows, but I want to kind of sort of bake that track mat into this footage so that I don't have these two layers to deal with. I just want it as one layer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my dome layer and its track mat, and I'm going to pre-compose them. So I'm going to right click and hit pre-compose, and I'm just going to call this UFO dome. And what this does is it puts both of those layers into their own composition and replaces that composition here in my layers. So it's kind of like flattening those images. We can still get to those two different layers later on by going into this composition if we want to, but in the meantime it just gives us those two layers sort of joined together so they're treated as one. I'm going to do the same thing for the Windows layer as well. Here's my Windows layer and its track mat. I'm going to select them both, right click and pre-compose, and I'll call that UFO Windows and hit OK. So now those are just treated as a single layer. The two layers are still in there, but they're treated just as a single layer. It's kind of like when you do in Photoshop, you can create a new folder with layers inside it, similar to that. Now the reason I want to do that is because I want to put a glow on this effect, and the glow, this particular glow in After Effects will work best when these layers are pre-composed. So I'm going to just make my windows visible. I've turned off my other two layers, and I'm going to go Effect, Stylize, Glow. I'm just going to zoom in a little here. So this glow has a threshold. The threshold is the brightness value of the pixels before they start glowing. So this is saying any pixels that have over 60% brightness, glow those. If you set this down to 0, every single pixel in this layer will glow. If you set it up to nearly 100, only the very brightest ones will glow. So I'm going to set this fairly low, somewhere around maybe 20. I can change the radius of the glow, so how big it is, how wide it spreads out. And I can also change the intensity, how strong that glow is. So now I've got glowing windows. And if I scrub through my timeline, there's that glow, and it's based on the colors of the original layer. So I've got a nice little glow happening on my lights now. Now I'm going to do the same thing for my dome. I'm just going to hide my windows, bring my dome back, and I'm going to go Effects. Now the last effect that you've used in After Effects will appear at the top of the list. So I can just hit Glow. And now only the bright parts of the image are glowing, so I'm going to, again, just drop that threshold down until everything glows. I'm going to have a bigger radius for it, maybe not quite so intense. I just want a subtle glow around the top of this UFO. So I've got a glow on the dome, I've got a glow on my lights. If I turn all these layers on, I've now got my UFO with the little lights glowing and the dome glowing. Those are the lights, there's the dome. I can also fine-tune how much glow or how intense this is by just making these windows and dome layers more or less transparent. So if my dome is a bit too intense there, I can select that dome layer, hit T, and I can turn the transparency of it down if I want to. So I've got a lot of control over the glow there. The really good thing about doing this here in After Effects, even though it's a more complex layering system, is that I can very quickly change the size and the intensity of the glows. I could even color correct the glows and tint them if I wanted to, and I can change things very fast. If I wanted to change all these settings in Cinema 4D, I would have to adjust the setting, do a test render, adjust it again, do another test render, and it's a really slow process. Whereas here I can do it very quickly, almost in real time.